Hello everyone, I'm Meteorologist Charlie Ironmonger. Thank you so much for joining me today for your 3 p.m. news and weather update from the First Alert Desk. Now we've got news we brought to you earlier today. Want to highlight it again. 2 more people who have now been charged in connection with July's deadly shooting at a popular fishing pier on the Outer Banks. Now Kildable Hills police say that 17-year-old Caden Lindsay was charged with first-degree murder for being an accessory before the fact, and 17-year-old Zachary Rose was charged with aid and abet first-degree murder. Now, the July 31st shooting at the Avalon Pier killed 19-year-old Zane Hughes of Collington, while a 15-year-old boy, who police said was a bystander, was also shot in the leg by the gunfire. Now, already indicted for the shootings is 16-year-old Henry Hargis of Kildable Hills. All 3 teenagers have been charged as adults while they are being held in a juvenile detention facility because of their ages. Again, the man you're about to see on your screen right now, again, is that of Zane Hughes, the victim of that murder. And I want to turn our attention to the health report put out by RFK Jr.'s Health Administration. We now want to turn to NBC's Ryan Nobles, who has more.
This morning, new recommendations for children's health care from President Trump's polarizing health secretary, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
We're the sickest country in the world.
Kennedy out with a new report discussing key children's health issues, from vaccines to nutrition to screen time for kids, but without clear policy changes.
I think it's great that it emphasized the importance of diet and some of the things that we just don't count, like environmental chemicals. The problem is that there wasn't a lot of substance on exactly how they were going to tackle these third rail issues that are huge.
Kennedy wants to release new dietary guidelines designed to encourage kids to eat healthier and limit the intake of ultra-processed foods and chemical dyes by pushing for bans and taking steps to educate the public more about where they exist. He also wants to get kids more active through education campaigns like the presidential fitness test. The report also repeating Kennedy's critique of fluoride in drinking water. Experts have long said that fluoride is a public health benefit. Kennedy, a vaccine skeptic, is already pushing to revamp how Americans get vaccines. Now the report saying the government will develop policies, quote, ensuring America has the best childhood vaccine schedule and promoting, quote, scientific and medical freedom.
He did hint in the report about vaccine schedule revisions, or at least medical freedom being emphasized, but did not get into any details.
Democrats in Washington, along with some Republicans, have raised concerns about Kennedy's vaccine agenda.
Bottom line, we need an HHS secretary who believes in science, not conspiracy theories.
While the secretary is also in the midst of a shakeup at the Centers for Disease Control, the Senate now planning to hold a hearing next week with Susan Menares, the former director of the CDC who Kennedy fired, and several of her deputies who quit in protest after her removal.
And again, that was NBC's Ryan Nobles reporting. We now want to turn to your weather forecast today. Here in eastern North Carolina, it's been a pretty cloudy day. Haven't seen much sunshine. A few areas have picked up a few sun breaks, but overall the sky has been really covered by cloud cover. About 80% of the skies for just about all of the day. Let's take a look at what we've got outside right now through our visible satellite, and you can see that that cloud covered deck is extending well beyond just I-95 right now, kind of slowly starting to approach the Charlotte-Mecklenburg area. Still about, I'd give it about 20 miles away, but still, the westerly track or westerly movement of that cloud cover is only going to keep us more entrenched in the clouds as we head into the next 24 hours, because overall we're really not seeing a whole lot of shift in those clouds. However, you do note right now that we've got opposing directions at different levels of the atmosphere with that cloud movement. You'll note over on the left-hand side of your screen towards I-95, a lot of those clouds are moving from the north to the south. However, you take your attention out towards the Outer Banks, a lot of those clouds are starting to move, at least the mid-level clouds right now, moving from the south, really south-southwest to the north-northeast. And this again is a sign that there is certainly some shear in the atmosphere. Winds going in different directions or different wind speeds, and that usually creates a potential for some possible spin in the atmosphere. The problem is we don't have anything that's going to trigger any sort of thunderstorms today, which is good news for us. Great news, even. We do have some light showers coming down back towards Raleigh, but once you get on the eastern side of I-95, you're really not seeing much in terms of rainfall. We do have a few little drizzle spots right now moving out of Hyde County and down towards Ocracoke over the Pamlico Sound. Not really much there. Here's a look at the bottom of the camera in Washington. You gotta love it when someone moves the camera and doesn't really put it back. 73-degree air temperature right now in Washington. Northerly wind at 8 miles an hour. However, you wouldn't know it just by looking at that picture. Here's a look at your air temperatures across the region. Right now, we're still hanging on to the mid-60s in Roanoke Rapids. The rest of eastern North Carolina ranging between around 70 degrees in Ahoskie up to 78 across Stumpy Point as well as Oriental. 77 in Hatteras, 76 through New Bern as well as Swan Quarter. Now, over the past 24 hours, all of eastern North Carolina, save for Cape Hatteras, has seen a rise in humidity. That rise coincides with the close proximity of a low pressure system to eastern North Carolina. Now, the good news is that as that low pressure system pulls away from eastern North Carolina, we're actually going to be seeing the humidity and the dew points drop. That is going to do a lot for our comfortability factor coming up over the upcoming weekend. 72 degrees by the time we again get to, I would say, around maybe 7 o'clock later on tonight, down to 71 by 8. And then into the upper 60s we go as we head towards 10 and 11 p.m. Right now, northerly wind present overnight, but it's not going to really be strong enough to really create any sort of major change in your just daily weather pattern. That changes tomorrow. We will start out the day humid, but as that low pulls away from eastern North Carolina, it will encourage some drier air to move in, and so long as those northeasterly winds stay steady, which all models again indicating that they will, we are looking at a drop in humidity coming up for tomorrow. Tomorrow is essentially going to be your transition day that will take us from, again, a fairly green outlook right here, indicating, again, high levels of humidity, to a little bit more of a tame outlook humidity-wise as we approach the upcoming weekend. But let's talk about your full 8-day forecast. 76 today, turns to 77 for tomorrow, and then we're back into the low 80s for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, mid-80s by Monday, and then we'll start to cool off by the time we get to the middle of next week. Overall, though, air temperatures staying at or slightly below our seasonal average. Normal this time of year is right around the mid-80s. We'll be there on Monday. A little bit shy of that mark for the other 8 days, but not to worry. Overall, as far as your overnight lows go, those will also stay close to our seasonal average. Normals between around 61 to 64 degrees. So most of the next 8 days will either be at or slightly below our overnight low seasonal average. That's all we have time for today's 3 p.m. news and weather update from the First Alert Desk. I want to thank you all so much for joining me. We'll be back with more news and weather coming up at the top of the hour. Until then, I hope you all have a wonderful day.